I'm here to talk about the management of Parkinson's disease. So this is after diagnosis. We're not going to spend any time on actually making the diagnosis. So the first step in management, it really starts with you guys having a diagnosis and having to figure out how to deal with that. So you're managing yourself. You do not want to do this by yourself. There's lots of resources out there. Don't be so stubborn or hide this diagnosis from those close to you. I have multiple stories of people who've hid it from their wife for 3 years, their children for 5 years, their employers for 10 years. And it's created such an anxiety relating to simply hiding the disease from other people that it confounds the entire condition. So you can pick your own team, but some options for members of your team that you would want to recruit early on after diagnosis would be your family, people that you trust at work, and depending on your job situation, it may or may not be a good idea to let it be known early on about this condition. You want to assign your friends to a long-term contract to help you through this. You definitely need a primary care physician who you're comfortable with. And that's becoming increasingly challenging with the shortage of those across Canada. But try to find one early on that you think you're gonna be able to stick with. Depending on where you are, the person who's going to manage your Parkinson's disease could be an internal medicine specialist, could be a geriatrician, could be a general neurologist. But if possible, having a movement disorder specialist seems to correlate with more ideal care. And then having a specialist close to home, perhaps, to complement that. And make sure you get familiar with where the allied health people that can have a big role to play in your care, physiotherapy, speech therapy, those sorts of things. So apparently, the move is toward you guys looking after yourself and having us as a resource to help you do that, called patient-centered care. I'm on last night on the Google, and I'm going, BARRIE, Parkinson's, this comes up. So you guys actually have a course that's offered at the Community Health Center, which you can sign up, and it's supposed to teach you how to deal with chronic illness over time. It's a resource that I'm unaware of is happening in Winnipeg, but it's one of the early hits that comes up on Google. I'm lucky enough to work within an interdisciplinary team in Winnipeg. I have a 5,000 square foot building with 18 people working in it. And so it's really not about just me and pills. There's lots of aspects of Parkinson's disease that you can help without medication, although most of my talk is going to relate to medication. So BARRIE is sitting there, as you know better than I. And it turns out, if you look at the red dots, which represent movement disorder specialists, that you're, of course, in God's country, according to my grandfather, who came from Iroquois, so that's this area of the world. But you have lots of movement disorder specialists. They're not right in your home community necessarily, but they're certainly within accessible distances. And some of them, particularly Dr. Gutman and Adams, use telehealth that enable you to connect from your local area. Probably goes without saying, but it doesn't seem to, that patients, because of the internet, think they can become doctors, know more about Parkinson's than everyone else, and they don't necessarily follow advice that's given. And that's okay to a point. But the physiotherapists, allied health, neurologists that are experienced with Parkinson's disease do have valuable information and can kind of put into perspective what you might read on the internet. And so it's important to kind of utilize both the information that's out there as well as having a specialist who can kind of, as I say, put it into perspective for you. So gather information from wherever you can. This meeting that's coming up, it's hard to describe how good it is. Just trust me, you should be there. But there's doctors, there's nurses, there's support groups. Those are all very valuable. Internet sites, well, again, I'm on Google last night, and just to make a bit of an example, you type in Parkinson's and BARRIE, because I kind of figured out, well, what's going on here with Parkinson's. And what you get immediately is the 5 families with the last name of Parkinson's that live in BARRIE, and you know exactly where they are. Which is a pretty good example of typing in something and getting information that might seem related superficially, but actually is completely irrelevant to what you're looking for. So that's why you need your Docker. According to the internet, that's how many people are in this catchment area, and that means there could be anywhere, because stats are not very accurate with this, but probably somewhere between 500 and up to 900 cases of either Parkinson's disease or Parkinsonism. Back to the internet, they're still selling snake oil. They've been selling snake oil for years. And Excel therapy, when you used to, within the last 5 years, if you typed in Parkinson's and anything else on the right side of Google, you would have Excel Therapy, a company that was in a variety of countries other than North America, claiming that they can cure Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, macular degeneration. The list contains 25 different things that we don't have cures for, but they can cure them all. And fortunately, they're shutting them down. In Germany, which I was shocked that this place was actually up and running and advertising, Germany has shut it down as of last year. So be careful what you read. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't. So I give people website information, so at least I can start them off in the right direction so they don't have to do a search and come across these bad or fraudulent sites. This is the site for the Canadian Movement Disorder Group, cmdg.org. If you go down to the bottom and click on web author, you get my email address, because I've been trying to keep this updated, and it was just rejuvenated over the Christmas holidays. So everything's working right now. A few things to point out. It covers all movement disorders, but the section on Parkinson's is off to its left. You've got the Parkinson Society Canada link, which is a good site. Didn't used to be, it's much better now.